وهي ايش عم؟
هاي بتجنن.
هذه بيت لحم العروس. هذا إسلامي 100% أموي.
طب هاي قديش القطعة اللي لبستها نجمة؟ قديش عمرها؟
يعني لازم ترى
حابب
كل شيء فوق ال 120 سنة.
فوق ال 120 سنة.
This is Najla. She's a Palestinian environmental activist from Jerusalem. She took me to the old city to talk about fast fashion and overconsumption during Eid. Eid Mubarak! Are you thinking of a good place to invest that Eid money? Or feel like investing in something more sustainable than fast fashion? Well, we recently launched a Patreon where you can get exclusive content, access to live sessions, and a bunch of other cool stuff. It is a great way to support our work as we tell these stories from around the world.
بدي أسألك شو رأيك بالبضاعة الصينية والتركية اللي بتشوفها مرمية في البلد؟
زبالة. زبالة 100%.
Not really my style. I don't know if you can smell it. Smell the plastics and smell the...
Yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah. Fast fashion is based on the concept of more and more and more, encouraging more consumption. And they do that by producing clothes in the cheapest way possible.
Fast fashion is an epidemic across the world. People buy over 100 billion new pieces of clothing every year. That's 400% more than 2 decades ago. And all this consumption is happening at the expense of underpaid, exploited workers, usually in countries from the global south. It also comes at the expense of the environment. Fashion is the 3rd largest polluting industry in the world. Making this amount of clothing is very resource and energy intensive. And still, 3/5 of the world's clothing is ending up in landfills or incinerators less than a year after it's made. Every Eid, a Muslim holiday where it's customary to buy new clothes, consumption goes dramatically up. It is important to think about the cost of your new Eid outfit and how your decisions fit into the bigger picture.
So this is also like a typical, tourist shop that sells local things, traditional Palestinian things, but they're actually mass-produced in other countries like China and Turkey and Bangladesh. So it's sold as local, but actually there's nothing local about it. But yeah, I look at this and I feel so sad, not just because it's very ugly, but also that it has replaced everything that is local and kind of pushed them out of the market because they're not being able to compete price-wise.
على فكرة انتوا شايفين الاشي سهل بس صدقني مش سهل.
لا مش
بالمرة.
بتعرفي شغلة انه الاشي السيء عنا انه احنا صرنا نفضل دائما المربح السريع، يعني هذا اشي سيء انه نضلنا نربح السريع. يعني الايد العاملة عنا غالية، فعشان هيك الناس كلها بتتوجه لوين؟ لتركيا.
الصين، تركيا، بنغلاديش.
اليوم تركيا لأنه تركيا قريبة علينا، وسيلة التواصل سهلة. الصين بتعرفيش وين تروحي، فتركيا صارت كتير سهلة انك تروح اليوم ساعة على تركيا ب$70 تشتري تذكرة وتروح على تركيا. بتوصي 100 جاكيت، الجاكيت بيطلع عليك 100 ليرة، ال100 ليرة اللي هي اليوم بسعرنا $4. فأنا إيش بدي أنافس $4 أو $5؟ أنا وين بدي أنافس؟ $5 يعني 20 شيكل، يعني حق ساندويش فلافل. فالواحد لا، إحنا نكون منطقيين. شفت هذه مع روزي كوارتز.
And so what's slow fashion? What is the movement to counteract that?
Slow fashion is kind of it's the opposite of fast fashion. It's all about producing clothes in a mindful and sustainable way. It's about valuing the artisans, encouraging local production. اللي عم تسويه شغل كتير مهم
إن شاء الله إحنا ننجح في هذا الإشي، يعني إن شاء الله يعني إحنا بنحاول إن نعمل اللي بنقدر نسويه، بس ما هو تعرف شغلة المقارعة السوق والأشياء اللي جاي كتير متعبة.
Somewhere deep inside every one of us, we're not comfortable with this hyper consumption culture.
Yeah.
But we're so baked into it, and it's surrounding us, so we can't really resist it because it's like swimming against the stream. Yeah, and sometimes I think awareness yeah, it's the fundamental thing. Like you need to work on the mindset, but in the end, it's not everything. Like there needs to be like real action as well. So.
Capitalism, neoliberalism in Palestine has affected many things. The relationship with the land, the relationship to what we consume, but also it created this environment that is very much attuned to losing land, because that was brought in by the occupier as a way to sedate people, to get them more interested in how do I consume within society and how do I be within society, rather than how do I resist the system of oppression.
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
It's all intertwined. Like there's no one system of oppression is not isolated from others. It can't be.
Yeah.
The old city of Jerusalem is under military occupation. Israeli soldiers and settlers fill the city and have been actively trying to push Palestinians out for decades. The occupation is part of daily life here, and it impacts the livelihoods of these shopkeepers by suffocating the economy of the city.
This is Souk al-Khawajat, and it's one of the souks in Old Jerusalem that's most of its shops are closed. So it's a typical representation of the difficulties that many shop owners in the old city are facing. So it's just too expensive to keep, to stay alive and to keep open. Like sometimes I think it's easy for us to say that, like to criticize that people are selling their المبادئ تبعتهم and that they're getting things from China, and because I mean people want to kind of survive as well, so it's not an easy situation to be in.
This is a global system. Capitalism, hyperconsumption. How do you fight that on a local level?
So I am fighting it both through my personal choices, personal consumption choices, but also my individual actions are not enough, and therefore I try my best to spread inspiration through content creation, through blogging, and that's why I created Zero Waste Palestine, because I wanted to spread a message to a wider audience that it is possible to be, modern, young, and be fashionable or whatever, but without conforming to the system and without being a slave to the system. So a part of my lifestyle of not consuming and buying new things is that I take care of what I own and try to prolong the lifetime of that one so that I don't need to waste it, and in order to avoid buying new stuff as well. So I got a shirt. This shirt belonged to my mom when I was a kid, and now I took it over. And it has a small hole in it, so I need help with fixing it because I couldn't do it alone. مرحبا. عندي سؤال. I learned a lot from my elderly relatives, because in reality they didn't have waste back then. Like it was extremely minimal. They were appreciating the resources a lot more, not just because they were more costly, and it was like less income back then, but also because there wasn't this availability or supply of excessiveness on the market. It's not cool to consume. It's not cool to be like everyone else and try to buy new things all the time in order to show off and fill like this gap that you have. It's more cool to have your values, individual values that are aligned with nature and that are not destructive to the environment and society.
Nice. Satisfied?
Yeah. I'm happy. I saved it.
Perfect.
شكرا.